Hey, this is Christina Barnes, and today I'm going to talk to you about potential, because there's so many things that have potential, and you can relate that in your life, in your relationship, with your marriage, with your children, with your co-workers even. And for example, we recently bought a property, and when I saw this piece of property, it to me had a lot of potential, and I could see what it was going to look like whenever it was completed. When my husband looked at the property, he wasn't quite so sure that he saw the exact same thing that I did. But what it took was cutting back the trees, cutting back the grass, and it took pulling a lot of weeds. And once we actually got it cleaned up, then the light bulb went off and he started seeing potential in this property. And that's something I saw before it even got cleaned up. And that's exactly what I saw in my husband when I first met him. He started off in a job that he graduated from college, and he was working in corporate America, and he wasn't happy. He did not like the corporate world. And when I met him, he was working in a warehouse. And when I met him, I saw what a big heart he had. I saw how incredibly good looking he was. But besides that, I saw so much potential in my husband, and I thought, no, he has an awesome purpose, an awesome plan, and I saw that in him. And a lot of times when we get married and we go through things, the grass overgrows, the weeds start coming up, and we get blinded by that. We start not seeing what we saw originally whenever we first met our spouse. And I want to encourage you that that potential that you saw in your spouse originally, bring that fire back and encourage your spouse to the potential that they have. And it reminds me of the Bible of Joseph. Whenever Joseph had a dream, he had two dreams, and both of them related to the fact that his brothers would be bowing down to him, and they would be serving him. And he was young, he had this dream, he came to his brothers and he said, hey, I just had this dream. And he told them the dream, and immediately they got really jealous. They were already jealous of him because his father favored him. And so whenever he told them this dream, they were immediately thinking, there's no way we are going to allow this to happen. So from there, they had a plot. They wanted to kill him. They wanted to kill their own brother. And so they were planning on putting him in something. They were going to take his life, and then all of a sudden they had the idea that they were going to sell him. And so that's what they did. They ended up selling him in slavery. And for years, they went back to their father and they said, hey, your favorite son, he died. And they brought back the coat, and it was covered in blood. And his dad was just heartbroken that he had lost his son. And so all these things happened to Joseph on this. He didn't just become this great person where all his brothers served to him. He actually had to go through a process. And that process he had to go to prison. He was there. He actually was lied about that his boss, his wife, tried to seduce him. And he absolutely had nothing to do with it. He said, no, I'm not going to take a stand. I'm not going to be involved with this. And she got frustrated with the fact that he rejected her multiple times. And so then she framed him and had him put in prison. And he interpreted a few dreams while he was there in prison. And after the interpretation of the dreams, he told the guy, he said, look, don't forget about me when you get out of here. And so the guy got out of there, and what did he do? He completely forgot about Joseph, left him in prison. And I can't imagine how alone he felt. He, not only lost all his brothers, and they tried to kill him, and then he lost his family, his dad. He's alone in this prison. But God never forgot about him. He knew the potential that he had in him, and all he could have is that dream that he gave him in his heart to not give up. And so he ended up being able to get out of prison because the king had a dream, and the only one that could interpret it was Joseph. So the guy all of a sudden remembered. Joseph interpreted the dream, and what it meant was that there was going to be a 7-year famine that was going to be coming to the land. And he told him in the dream there was also going to be 7 years of prosperity before the famine hit. And so he got put in the highest position to prepare all this food, so when the famine hit, that they would be well prepared. And during that time, after the 7 years, and when the famine hit, it exactly happened how he said the dream was going to take place. His family and his brothers ended up coming to him and served him. And honestly, they didn't even recognize him until he finally took off and revealed who he was, and he took off his costume and the makeup and stuff that he had at that time because he looked like an Egyptian. They had no idea that dream was truly going to come in fruition, and they actually try to prevent that dream from happening. But the thing is, God sees our potential. God knew from the beginning what Joseph was going to have to go through. He didn't tell Joseph, hey, you're going to have to go through all this stuff. You're going to have to go put in prison. You're going to have to walk through all this, and eventually they're going to serve you. No, God doesn't tell us the whole story. He just gives us a glimpse, or he just may show us a little piece of the puzzle, and we have to hold on to that when we go through the trials that we go through. And so if you're doubting the potential that you have, or you see the potential in your children and they're really down and they don't really know, think about how many basketball players and famous people have not made the cut. And someone had to come along and encourage them and say, hey, don't give up on this. You have that dream in your heart for a reason. God knows the beginning from the end, and he knows the potential. And what I had to do when I started losing the vision for myself and for my husband, when we started going through trials, I had to pray, and I said, Lord, please give me your eyes to see. Give me your eyes to see my husband the way you see him. And slowly he started restoring the vision that he had for my husband, and I had to start speaking life over him. And I'm like, no, you are a conqueror. God has a plan for you, and this isn't the end. And he is going to fulfill the purpose and the plan that he has for you. And that's the prayer I pray for my kids every day, that they will fulfill the plans and the purpose that the Lord has for them, no matter what they have to go through, that their purpose will be fulfilled. So I just want to end with that, encourage you that there is potential in the things that you go through, and it's not for no reason. The trials and the tribulations that you go through, God's got a plan for it, and you will fulfill your purpose. So if you like videos like this, I encourage you to go to my webpage at motivatedmarriage.com, like us on Facebook, and we'll see you on the next video.